welcome to the Pete the Planner experience. I'm Pete the Planner. I'm joined by Damien the Dunn. Hello, Dame.
Hello, Pete.
Kristen is off this week. Hello, Jameson. Fine glass art blower. Was that the name of Jameson? What is the name of use? What is it, Dame? It's something like that.
I don't know. I mean, I remember seeing it, but I don't remember. Is it Jameson's fine glass? I don't know. I don't remember.
Danza, hello. Andy, hello. Jason, hello. If you're joining us on the podcast, you got a few other options of how to experience this. Like people are watching fused glass, not blown glass.
Oh,
sorry,
wow.
I blew it. People are watching podcasts these days, Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Do you watch podcasts?
I mean, I watch clips of podcasts. I don't think I've ever sat down and watched an entire podcast from start to finish, but I'll catch clips here and there.
It's like I don't watch. I kind of watch. I'll have it maybe playing, but I'm not watching. I'm actually listening to it and I'll glance over if they make a visual reference. But the whole point of radio, Scott Roddy style, the old inside baseball Scott Roddy, is that you must paint the picture. It's theater of the mind. So all these video podcasts are like, watch this video clip. And it's like,
yeah.
So that's my issue.
I totally agree. It started off as a great concept, and now we're blurring the lines, and it becomes a little bit harder for those longtime listeners to get the full experience by just listening. I mean, if you had to rank the best way to consume our show, radio, podcast, live stream, which do you or replay on pick your platform, YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever. Well, how are you doing that? Where are you going with that?
That's a great question. Because everyone right now watching the live stream clearly is visually part of it. Is that Dan or Don? My eyes are failing me. Andy says live stream, but I think it's because you can interact. I think that's different than just watching a YouTube show.
Yeah, that's true.
And then Andy says Blom isn't as good without it. I get that too. Dame, big weekend here in Central Indiana. Last weekend, the Indiana Hoosiers won a thing. This weekend, it is whiteout blizzard conditions. Will it be a dud, Dame?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. But what is a dud? Like my phone currently says 10 to 12 inches. My bet says 6.
Yep. Yeah, whatever the forecast is, I usually just take half of it, and that's what I anticipate. And if it's more than that, then they were closer to right. And if it's not, then chances are I was right.
Dame, for the locals tonight here at HQ is the Christmas, the holiday party for the locals here at HQ.
And I'm sure how much of a role did you have in preparing the menu, or is it just wide open?
I had nothing to do with this. In fact, to tell you the truth, I was telling my partner, my wife, about the party, which is tonight. And I said, yeah, it's the same place as last year. And then I got to work this morning and I was talking about with a colleague and I was like, yeah, it's easy because it's the same place as last year. And they said, well, actually, no, it's not. It's at this place. So had I not had that conversation, I would have shown up at the wrong place. So yeah, that's how involved I was.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're spending your time on things that may be a little bit more important, menu planning for our party.
I will say I am not the best at sort of after hours work events with our, I kind of get in my head a bit, but I will say this, I do love interacting with everyone's partners and spouses. I love meeting people's partners and spouses.
Which is really, I mean, it doesn't surprise me, but as you are a self-proclaimed kind of introvert at events like that.
Yes.
And yet you hide it really, really well because you engage with anyone and everyone at those. Well done.
Well, you know what I've also decided, and I say this every year about this time, Dame, I'm sort of, I'm doing dry January. I'm 23 days in, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I just have no desire to go back. I'm sleeping so well. I'm not cranky the next afternoon. like workout culture. We're drinking all sorts of NA beer, and it's just like that are 20 calories a pop.
Wow.
Like, what am I doing?
I hate to be the bearer of bad reminders, I guess, but
Yes.
it feels like we say this every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got invited to next Friday, like an incredible whiskey tasting from this guy who's doing this fundraiser, and like anything in the world you would possibly want to try, like the highest end of anything. And I was like, nah,
Good for you.
maybe. Because here's the thing, like I'm not even proud of myself. It's not even a proud, like I'm sort of pre-mad at myself for beginning to drink again at some point in the future. That's where I'm at. Pre-mad.
Do you okay, so another question for you. When the seal breaks.
It's all or nothing for me. You know me. I can't moderate.
Okay, that was going to be, do you walk back, you had to wade back into that pool, or is it just like, all right, we're going from 0 to 5 old fashions?
No, I mean, I'll just start pouring it in my ears from both sides. Like, I got to have it.
Yeah.
Dude, you've known me for a long time. I am on the gas or off the gas. I cannot cruise control.
No, that is not one of your strengths.
Oh, I don't. Yeah. Okay. I like today's topic a lot. Thank you for coming up with it.
You're welcome.
You did come up with it, right?
I had help.
Okay. Because I feel it. I feel the topic today. Like I feel like the economy is teetering on the edge of massive boom or bust, and like kind of nothing in between.
Yeah, it's a really weird. I've actually got a news story that would pair very nicely with this. So I know you've got some data. I've got a little bit of data if we want to sprinkle that in from the story. So we're not the only ones recognizing this. It's out there. And so we're going to have to see if we can maybe talk through some of this and come to, if not a conclusion, an acceptance of what things look like and feel like today.
I think that where I'm at, and it's a theory that we'll talk about throughout the show. I believe that the economy and sentiment have become decoupled permanently, or at least temporarily permanently.
Temporarily permanently. I love it. Yeah, I don't disagree. I think now more than ever, and maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but it feels like the two things aren't lining up like they used to.
Yeah. All right, let's do it. 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. And we'll take your question and turn it into an entire radio show, live stream, and podcast. Right now, all of those three mediums I just discussed are hearing this. The show is weird. If you're listening on the radio right now, I encourage you also to go to the podcast because you get to hear what we talk about between the segments. If you're listening on the podcast right now and you wonder what two bald men look like that have the same last name, then go to the live stream at youtube.com/Pete the Planner. And you can, of course, watch the replay there as well. I mentioned another bald. He is here. His name is Damian Dunn. Hello, Baldy.
Hello, no relation.
Hello, no relation. Kristen Elanius is off this week. Dame, 2 summers ago, the New York Times hit us with Vibe Session. You remember that?
Yeah, and now that you mention it, I do remember it.
I think it was everything runs together post-pandemic. I mean, like March of 2020 was like a week ago, and also 35 years ago. So, all right. So the concept of Vibe Session is that the economy's fine, like fundamentally, like legitimately fine, yet things feel really bad. And so this introduced this idea of the decoupling between consumer sentiment and actual economic data. And that has evolved we are now at a place right now, and that's what today's show is about, that it feels like our economy is teetering on the edge of boom or bust. Like it is going crazy amazing, or it's going to be awful. And it is that a misguided statement, Dame, or do you feel that too?
No, I totally feel that. And I think a lot of it's going to depend on certain socioeconomic factors that apply to you and your family and the circle that you're in. But it's really, really hard to disagree with someone who's saying, man, things are not good right now. And then to have reports come out in various news medias or from the government that says, you know what, things really aren't that bad right now. So where are we getting this dissociation from? What is going on that makes us shake our heads or pull your hair out, check local listings for hair on top of your head? But there is definitely a vibe going on.
Dame and I try our best. We also try to be self-aware. Like we want to keep partisan politics out of the discussion. We will bring up various administrations. We're not going to place blame. We're going to try our best. Like I don't want to be so declarative that like we're not going to be biased. We probably will, but we're going to really try not to be. And I'll just also say that Dame and I have a spectrum of opinions amongst ourselves, so that generally helps with that. But I honestly don't believe today's conversation has that much to do with politics.
No, it's one of the things I'm really most proud about our show on is that we've called out bad opinions in the previous administration, or bad things in the previous administration. We called out bad things in this administration, and the one prior to the previous administration, similar. But
nailed it.
Yeah, we aren't afraid to give praise where praise is due and criticize where it's also warranted.
All right. That being said, never mind. Okay, here we go. That almost went off the rails for no reason at 4 minutes and 4 seconds. Okay, let's talk about jobs in the labor market.
Mm-hmm.
First, there's this we'll go with fear. It could be founded, it could be unfounded, about AI stealing every job in the world. Like that is every big manosphere podcast right now is constantly waxing poetic about when the robots take over, we're all either going to be filthy rich or we're all going to be destitute. And again, there's no in between. So that is the sort of out in the ethos that's going on. But here's the reality. Recent data shows U.S. weekly jobless claims ticking up slightly. However, they're still at moderate levels, suggesting the labor market steadiness despite slower growth. So, Dame, that's good, right?
Yeah, I think it has to objectively be good. I mean, I remember, this is a long time ago, Pete, sitting in an econ class with my advisor in college, and I don't know why this sticks out to me, but it does to this day. And he claimed that the natural rate of unemployment in the United States was this amount. You want to take a stab at what you feel like the percentage of natural unemployment is?
4%?
5.5%.
Really?
It's what he
claimed. That.
Now, I've never been able to find that online in anything to correspond or corroborate what he was saying. But let's just give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's say it's 5. We're still doing really good historically.
We're at 4.4 in December.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah. So I'll say we saw it spike during the pandemic, right? We saw that. And I think that's what gives us the context to have this conversation, is that we, in the spring of 2020, we saw the most brutalized economy that anyone alive has ever seen. Right?
Yeah, it was not a fun experience. I mean, it was obviously easy to empathize with everyone who was basically cowering under their desks and hoping that they got passed over and were able to keep their jobs. But I do not care to relive those weeks, months ever again.
GDP growth was revised higher recently, with expanded figures showing a 4.4% annualized increase in Q3 of 2025, the fastest in 2 years. Now, Dane, by the shake of your head, you know my pause. I'll let you go. What do you?
No.
Well, here's the thing, and I hate this. I hate the words I'm about to say because it makes me feel bad about me. Do we believe those? Do we believe those numbers? Do you believe those numbers?
Not as much as I would have a decade ago. I think there's so much manipulation that goes on, which I know kind of shoots our
whole theory,
our whole theory in the foot about, the data says we're doing okay, but everything feels bad. I just, how much are they skewed? I don't know. Which means, can I really say that they're unbelievable numbers if I don't even have a opinion on how much they might be off by? I don't know. I just don't know.
Okay, I'll say this. I feel like, again, if we're talking about feeling economics today, which is the dumbest phrase ever. So I feel as though the economy grew last year. I feel like it was a positive economy, despite there was some rough patches. Second quarter was brutal. However, that being said, I don't feel like we were at a 4.4 annualized pace. It's just like it literally never felt like that to me. I don't know.
Now you travel significantly more than I do, and I would think that you'd have a better feel for that, seeing maybe some growth or expansion in some of the cities that you were visiting. Just getting a genuine general. Nobody knows what I'm trying to say. The vibe, what's going on there in those areas. Where I went, it just kind of felt like business as usual. It did not seem like a nearly 4.5% rate of growth.
I'll say one other thing before we go to the break about what is like so great theoretically is that the market was bananas. Now, the market and the economy are different things. Okay, they are. You know this if you listen to the show, they're different things. But it was really great in 2025. So when we come back, we're going to talk about why everyone's going, yeah, but all that, yeah, but is next. Right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. If you're listening to the podcast or watching the live stream for the first time and you're like, okay, what's all that? Here's the deal. This is actually also a radio show. It's a syndicated radio show. And so we record segments during the podcast, which then I clip up and then I send to our syndicator and they send it out. That's what that is. Is it weird? Yeah, I think it's quirky and I like it. I don't know of anyone else doing it though. After that could mean because it's a terrible idea.
I mean, I guess, or we're just way ahead of the curve.
Jason has an interesting point. Let's see if these old eyes of mine can gather this. I think this is Dame's perspective, to be honest.
Yep.
I think the internet and sensationalist news increases the negative outlook. Happy people don't talk about it, and good news doesn't get views. Yeah, okay, let's break that down for a second. Good news doesn't get views. 100% true. That's 100% true, right? Like, that is true. Happy people don't talk about it, meaning the economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the internet and sensationalist news increase the negative outlook. Yeah, I mean, it's the whole screaming into a vacuum or whatever the whole phrase is, right?
Totally. He's exactly right. Good news doesn't get views. That's why if a local news station has something or a national news, they bury it in one of the very last segments right before they sign off for the day because nobody's watching at that point anyway. You need clicks to sell ads. And so you're going to lead with sensationalized headlines. And you are going to do whatever you can to get that traffic. And so I've wondered, and I've tried it at various points, so I guess I don't have to wonder how much calmer and lower my blood pressure is if I stay off social media in general and just don't pay attention to the news. And I can't tell you, it works.
I'm with you there. All right, let's come back. Let's get into sort of I don't even want to say the other side. It's just sort of like the balance of data and news that we're going to get into here. So let's do that now. 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Today's topic, is it just us, or is the economy teetering on the edge of boom or bust and probably nowhere in between? Before the break, on our first segment, we talked about how unemployment's in a good spot. We think GDP growth in 2025, based on the data provided by the government, is in a good spot. The stock market was good last year. Inflation is interesting, but it also gets we started the show saying it was like we're kind of trying to separate politics, certainly partisan politics, from today's episode, but we do need to probably talk some promises and policy a little bit on this particular topic if it's interesting to you. But Dave, how do you get your head around inflation? Because here's the point. During the break, a listener, Jason, watching the live stream, made the point that the media can sensationalize a data point and send you in different directions. Sometimes when the inflation report comes out, you go to one media source and they're like crushing inflation news. You go to a different one, it's like great inflation news. Yeah. So how are you currently thinking about inflation?
It's not a super scientific method that I'm using, but if it's close to the long-term targets that I've used for, I don't know, well over 2 decades at this point, man, I'm old, then I think inflation is right around where it should be. And that, for those of you playing along at home, that's somewhere around 2.5% to 3% of inflation. That's the factor that I've used as a financial planner for years and years and years. And that's a super common one for other financial planners across the country. So we anticipate, we are comfortable with some inflation in our system. It's okay. Not an issue. When we start getting readings that are way above that, or just trying to get it under control, and we're starting to pull levers to make that happen, that's when things get a little uncomfortable, because we know you can only pull levers so far before you've exhausted them. And once you've done that, now you don't have any recourse. And by us, I mean the federal government trying to make some different changes to get things under control. So anytime we have to start putting our thumb on the scale to get things under control, that's when I get nervous. But if we can have something close to what is anticipated over the year, long-term periods, I've got no issues with that. And you have to just look for, okay, what's that annual year-over-year inflation number, and are we close? The downside is we had such a huge run-up in costs over the last 5 years, 6 years, that even if we get inflation under control, those prices aren't going to come down. We're stuck with them. And if wages don't increase at the same pace, then we've got decisions to make. We absolutely have decisions to make. And that's not something that we, as good Americans, have really done well with in the last few decades. Because we want everything. We want as much as we can get. And we don't like having to say no to ourselves specifically. And so if now our dollars are stretched further and we've got to make choices, inflation becomes a much more real topic for us and our wallets and our short-term and long-term stability. So it's a very complicated issue that we have to face as households and individuals in the country.
I'm at 2.8% is my entire career, is what I point to from a planning assumption standpoint, is what 30-year long-term inflation looks like. We're at 2.7% in December. I think people tend to anchor a particular type of good to whether inflation is good or bad. And sometimes they do it on oil prices, or gas prices, I should say, which is interesting because that one can move in the opposite direction sometimes as to what the rest of the market basket are doing. So like gas prices are relatively decent right now. And so the impact for those that spend money on fuels, it's great. Now, for those that spend money on things like beef, you hate everything about life right now. You're considering Beyond Meat. I'll say, here's how I feel about inflation. And Damon, it gets to your point. It gets to John in our live stream talking about the 9% inflation sort of peaked in the summer of 22, I believe, up to 11% in a lot of categories. Here's the issue. If you campaign on prices coming down, you are causing your own problems.
Yep.
It's intellectually dishonest because that's not how any of this works. Prices are not coming down. I will say things like gas and things like beef, when the cattle supply eventually goes up, you could see prices coming down, but a bit. But across the board, it's baked, baby. So that 2.7, 2.8% is the best you can do. And so, Dane, we talked a little bit about the media sensationalizing and the vibes of, well, does it feel? Here's the problem. If the person you agree or disagree with the largest podium in the world is telling you prices are coming down, that person is causing their own chaos around the inflation conversation. That being said, another element to this is, if you want to choose to believe this data, which is the era we apparently live in, with all of the tariffs that have been part of our world in the last 8 months or so, 96% of the increase in costs have been absorbed by American consumers. So that is inflationary. Mm-hmm. So, Dame, I don't know. I'll say this is a unforced error via campaign, but I don't think inflation is a massive issue as we sit here today. I believe it absolutely was. Yes. I don't believe it is.
Correct. We definitely had some really bad experiences with it in our not too distant past. Right now, it feels largely under control.
Here's the issue with all of this. Consumer confidence is in the tank, the absolute toilet, the lowest readings in a long time. And I know on this show, sometimes we talk about how sometimes consumers or savers or investors are out of touch with reality, confidence around retirement ability, confidence around the economy. Dame, how much do you think consumer sentiment, consumer confidence actually matters?
That's a really interesting question, especially if I'm sitting in a boardroom of a big retail company where they're trying to move products and make some revenue. I don't know the actual number itself. I don't think influences individuals, honestly, because I don't think people pay attention to it, but they do pay attention to their friend and family circle and what they're getting from there. And so if the overall confidence, however that number is derived, is going down, I think people can absolutely be influenced by the group that they're surrounded in and saying, you know what, they're not having a great time. Things are tough for them. Maybe we should pull back on spending a little bit. You know what? I'm seeing the same thing. I don't think we're doing great. We're gonna have to start pulling back the reins on some stuff. So I totally get it. I think consumer confidence in the group matters a lot. The number itself doesn't mean much to the average consumer.
I think another number that you referenced a few minutes ago, Dame, that is wildly important in this conversation is wage growth. Mm-hmm. Right? Like wage growth is not what it was during the pandemic. If you remember, early in the pandemic, just after we were all looking at each other going, what? Wages went up a lot. They kind of corrected after decade and a half, 2 decades of stagnation. But we've come back down to a more modest wage increase. I guess the good news to that is if inflation's at 2.7 to 8.8% now, that's okay. But in 2022, when inflation was 9 to 11%, then that was bad. People were going backwards.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up after the break, more of the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Have I blown by a segment end quite like I did right now? 13 seconds, less Johnny Cougar for the people.
Yeah.
I noticed a gleam in your eye, and it was like that dummy. And I was wondering why you were thinking I was a dummy, but now I know.
I started actually questioning myself. Like, do I have this right? Is my stopwatch wrong? Do I not know when this segment ends? No, it was you. It was you.
Don't ever doubt yourself. Are we going to end up talking about the taco trade or not?
We can. Doesn't bother me.
We don't have to do it on the air. We can do it now.
I can't point out a specific example. If you've got one, go for it. I'm not opposed to it because I think there's some meat to it. But I would love to have a specific example if we were going to talk about it.
That's fair. Let's just do it now. I'll just give you my thoughts now. If you want to react, you can. You don't have to. I listened to this theory yesterday, and I thought it was interesting, and I kind of buy it. There's a little bit of data. So for those that don't know, the taco trade it's an acronym for Trump always chickens out. And that is to say he makes large policy or economic announcements that rattle the global economy or maybe say this, should rattle the global economy, do rattle the global economy. And then when push comes to shove, when we get to the precipice of the threats or whatever, in some cases, I don't even want to say many, I'll just go with some cases, the heightened threats of things roll back, kind of step away from the ledge, and people trade that. I mean, people say, hey, whatever horrible if people think one of his positions is horrible, and the general sentiment on Wall Street is that it would be bad for the global economy, there are people that have grown to dismiss those massive, big stances because they tend to not come to fruition. And then, so the theory I heard last night, which was interesting, was that the market has priced these in so much now that the only way the market really moves is if the magnitude of the policy and or take or directive or edict, it has to grow in magnitude to get the market to react because it's all priced in. Because one could argue the only thing that pulls back on these policies is the market's reaction to the policies, and then almost immediately the stance on the policy changes. So that's the theory. I buy some of it. How do you think about that through the lens of like the whole taco element?
I would love to know how much of the volatility is institutional versus retail traders. I haven't looked at any of that.
You got to think retail.
I would think so.
Because if it's priced in, it's priced in, you know?
So that's that is just the individual trying to be the smartest person in the room, in my opinion. And so if you can get out of your own way and just understand that this is how business is conducted by this particular administration, you're not going to go on that wild ride of emotion or fear or whatever it is you're experiencing. Just ignore it. Now, if you want to actually participate in the taco trade and buy low, if you can identify whatever that looks like and try and make some cash, I guess you can try that. That's not my style. I don't try and trade on swings in short-term swings in the market, but there are some people who are pretty darn good at it. Not my bag though.
Yeah. All right. Food for thought.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Is the economy going to boom or is it going to bust? Boom is good, by the way. Dan, you remember that? Boom is good. Bust is bad.
I've got that written down.
Yet, if you get put into a Hall of Fame, you get a bust. And if you fall down, you boom. So I don't. Mm-hmm. Anywho, so let's continue to dig in. Dane, as we said, GDP was reportedly good last year. unemployment is steady, inflation is in a reasonable place, and we believe some of the agitation around that is revolve around the promises to bring down prices, which is a lot harder than quelling inflation. The market went bananas last year. Up 16% or so? Is that what you?
Like, 15 and change, right around 16.
Take it. I mean, you and I are both 8%, fellas.
Every day.
All day, 8%. Consumer confidence is down. So what's the deal? What happens next? And the theory that we're exploring now is economic data completely decoupled from consumer sentiment? Like, it is what a person feels completely decoupled from underlying data. We believe that potentially the pandemic created issues here, from the vibe recession to 11% inflation, those sorts of things. So, like, Dame, do you have to feel a recession now, or do you, like, what? Because it does not feel like a recession. I do not feel like it feels like a recession. I do feel like it felt like that way Q2 of last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what the right answer to this is, because I cannot dispute the anxiety that a number of people have in this economy. The numbers don't back it up, but and I'm sure you've probably seen this in some of the stories that cross our screens throughout the week. The idea of a K-shaped recovery that we're having here, where essentially higher end of socioeconomic circles do okay coming out of something like this, and the lower is just going to be stagnant at best and maybe have a much tougher time. And I haven't seen data necessarily to back that up yet, but it feels like that could be a really, really reasonable example or explanation as to what we're dealing with here, because as the cost of essentials, housing, food, transportation, continue to climb, lower income households are going to have a much, much harder time to have their normal life, continue to transact on a month-to-month basis, whereas higher income households have the ability to be a little bit more flexible and take advantage of certain opportunities when they can, or just say no to something and it really doesn't impact their life on a weekend out, month in, month out basis. And so maybe it just hasn't caught up to everyone that participates in the economy yet, and we're just waiting for things to progress, or maybe we just find this period where this is just the way it is, and now we're having a more distinct line between socioeconomic classes. That's not something that I want to imagine, but I think it might be something that's possible going forward.
I want to ask you a question that would leave a very smart person rolling their eyes at me for the reductive nature of the question. I've told you this before. There was one instance on Twitter where this very smart journalist just took me to task for one of these types of questions. It just brutalized me. And it's in my head still.
No.
Here's the question. The K-shaped way is a way to say there's two different economies, right? It is a way to say that you are either part of one economy or you're part of the other economy. How can you get part of the good economy? That's the dumb question. That's the reductive question. What does a person need to do to find themselves in the good economy? Is it simply a matter of income?
No.
Okay. What does a person need to do to be in the good economy?
It still has to, in my opinion, income is part of it. It absolutely is part of it. Not having tons of obligations is the other one. To have the ability to have financial stability in your short term and still be on track for long-term success, whether that means 10 years, 20 years, great retirement, whatever that means to you. You're going to have to say no to a lot of stuff if you want to try and jump. If we're going to assume that the K-shaped recovery or economy is what we're experiencing, in order to hop from that lower to the upper, it won't be easy. Income's part of it, but you're going to have to get your hands around expenses somehow, some way.
Okay, so let me pull that thread for a second, because we kind of agree, right? Income is certainly, we agree. Income's part of it. However, if the income is in the lower section and it creates all of those obligations, which are a person can't handle, or it gets a person, and sometimes the obligations end up being a debt, right? So the past becomes the obligation, and the past is the element that prevents a person from going into the different economy, even if they have a higher income. So they almost need a higher income long enough to eliminate the obligations created by a past, right? And so I think income is part of it, but it's sustained higher income. It's not, hey, I made this amount for so long and now I make this amount, now I'm in the other economy. No, it's you make this a new amount, but you make it for enough time that you don't create new obligations and you eliminate the ones created by your lower income.
There you go. I think you hit on it, is that the income has to be stable enough for a long enough period of time to eliminate prior obligations while you don't take on new ones. And I don't think it's unreasonable to say that you have enough of a cushion to prevent you from taking on unplanned obligations in the future.
I think the other element is too, and we've talked about this, is if you're not participating in the market, this is not investment advice.
Nope.
You're not participating in the market, and we have these 16% years, 30% years. The people in the good economy all get it. And if you don't, you don't. And that is the separate, that is where the K splits. And like, if I'm listening to this right now and I'm not in the good economy and I don't have money in the market, this might feel wholly unhelpful. Like I'm willing to say that. But if you're not making your way to exposing yourself to the gains, you're going to stay in the bad economy for a long time.
What I would say is, one, yes, I agree. But two, if you are that person who's listening to this and you're recognizing some things that you might be short on right now, they don't have to be solved overnight. You're not going to solve them overnight. Don't try to solve them overnight. You will potentially cause additional issues. You just need to have a plan. And Atomic Habits, James Clear, great book. The power of very, very incremental progress compounds over time. Do something small and attainable.
Can I ask another really dumb, reductive question? Because I feel like I'm really loaded with them today.
Go for it.
So if we want to metaphorically say it's really hard to lose 100 pounds, to do what it takes to lose 100 pounds, and I'm not getting into GLP-1s. I'm just like, let's just go old school here. Very difficult. And a person can look at that extra 100 pounds they have and say, I can't do it. It's impossible. Clearly it's not impossible, but boy, is it friggin' difficult. It's crazy difficult. Dame, how different is that than someone who's in the bad economy? They'll go, I'm in the bad economy. Nothing I can do about it. It's like, well, there is, but it is wildly difficult.
And it will take you time to see the results. It's not something that you can just say, hey, all of a sudden I'm contributing X% of my income and voila, it's all fixed. It'll take you time to feel good about the decisions you've made.
It's interesting where the show went today. I didn't know we'd go to there is a good economy and bad economy. And I don't want to go as hardcore as like you determine which economy you're in. Pull yourself up by the Tevas. Do people wear Tevas anymore?
I don't think so.
Coming up after the break, the biggest waste of money of the week and the news. I'm Pete the Planner. It's the Pete the Planner Show. I used to rock some Tevas.
Did you?
Yeah, a college, like hiking around the falls of southern Indiana in Tevas.
Did the Teva people hang out with the Birkenstock people?
They were just the more athletic.
Yeah, I can see that.
Slightly more athletic. You need it strapped on.
Yeah.
The Birkenstock people. How about that? Birkenstock people were the great crossover amongst the Tevas and the Birkenstock people was the hacky sack.
Of course, it brought everybody together.
Dave Matthews and a hacky sack brought all the people together.
It did. I mean, that was the mid to late 90s in a nutshell.
That's Some of my most vivid memories of college are just like walking on campus, a circle of people hacky sacking, and Dave Matthews just blaring.
Yeah.
That's all I think. That's all I can remember. And I was never in the hacky sack circle because I didn't have much. I couldn't hacky well, you know.
You're athletic too. I mean, that's kind of surprising.
I don't have a lot of hip mobility.
Well, that would do it.
Real quick on the hacky sack. Clearly the thing is a sack.
Mm-hmm.
So is the verb? Are you hacking the sack? Like, what is the hacky part?
Yeah, I think that's what at least it was in northern Indiana. Is you were hackying the sack? Yeah.
Jeez. Noted. All right.
Yeah.
Didn't think you'd get there. You want to do the thing? Like my Slack's filling up. I'm getting nervous.
You're getting, yeah. Well, if you haven't peaked, I commend you for your self-control.
But it's just still going. I bailed and still going.
All right, let's get you through this so you can get on to things that are more important.
Oh. All right. 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week right here on the Pete the Planner Show is the Riedel Smart Ink 1 iPhone case. Okay, guys, prepare yourselves for the dumbest thing you've ever heard. As folding phones have shown, there's one surefire way to make a device more capable. Add a second screen. The Riedel Smart Ink 1 does exactly that, embedding a 3.97-inch e-ink touchscreen into an iPhone case. In addition to serving as a traditional e-reader, it also offers one-tap voice capture, which then uses AI to automatically create transcription. Oh, wrong button.
Time out.
Sorry.
Granted.
AI, I assume they mean artificial intelligence as opposed to Allen Iverson, correct?
Yeah, I think that's safe.
Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, that wasn't worth it. Bluetooth and Wi-Fi make syncing content from the phone effortless, and the package measures just 4 millimeters thick, offers up to 10 hours of battery life, and supports MagSafe charging. It will be compatible with iPhones 14 through 17 and will ship next month. Dame, an e-ink touchscreen on the back of an iPhone. What does that cost?
Man, that's $250.
119, but anything would be a complete waste of money.
Totally agree.
Yeah, like, I don't know about you. I'm trying to get off of screens. I don't want another screen.
I'm trying to come up with what I think the real use of this would be. I mean, the one-touch voice capture, AI transcription, blah, blah, blah. I can see that, but I think phones have like an action button where you could probably program that in now if you really wanted to. Although when you did say AI is artificial intelligence, not Allen Iverson, I could buy something for $199 and have AI follow me around all day. I would think that'd be worth it.
I guess with AI, this is a bit of a crossover device. Dame, what is in the news this week?
Well, following up on the previous 3 segments, earlier this week, Amazon CEO Andy Jassy said the company is starting to see higher prices creep onto its platform as sellers respond to cost pressures tied to tariffs. That's right, tariffs. Speaking to CNBC from the World Economic Forum in Davos, Jassy said Amazon and its third-party sellers pulled inventory forward last year to get ahead of rising costs. That buffer, he said, ran out in the fall. So now some sellers are passing higher costs on to consumers. Others are absorbing them. Many are doing something in between. Jassy said shoppers have remained resilient. Nice job, shoppers. They're continuing to look for deals, but are becoming more hesitant on higher-priced discretionary purchases. We'll have to see what happens in 2026, he said, which is wildly vague and unhelpful. Thanks, Andy. The comments come as tariffs imposed under Donald Trump return to center stage ahead of the midterm elections and dominate discussions among global leaders in Davos. Amazon shares fell about 3% earlier in the week on the news.
Did he just hit us with the we'll see? Like he's, hey, Dad, can we go get milkshakes?
We'll see.
We'll see. Are you a maybe or a we'll see, Dad?
I'm just a no. Flat no.
My wife is a we'll see mom. And then the kids instantly know that it's a no.
Yeah. Why say we'll see and tease? They just say no. The kids need to hear no.
Hey, if you want to take that up with my wife, feel free, pal.
Okay. I'll talk to her at the party.
Dave, what else is in the news?
Earlier this week, Sphere Entertainment announced plans to bring a smaller version of the Las Vegas Sphere to National Harbor, about 15 minutes south of Washington, D.C. The so-called mini Sphere would seat around 6,000 people, roughly one-third the size of the Vegas venue, but with the same headline features: massive high-resolution screens, immersive sound, 4D effects, haptic seating, and an exterior designed to display ads and digital artwork. Project is expected to cost more than $1 billion, 200 of which is going to get footed by the taxpayers and private incentives. The company says it's going to create about 2,500 construction jobs and nearly 4,800 permanent jobs once the venue opens, along with more than, Pete, we talk about data. I don't know if I can believe this. More than $1 billion in annual economic impact.
Oh, okay. Where's this at again?
15 minutes south of DC. It's in Maryland.
Okay, so I'm going to try to remember a number from my brain. I remember, I think, in Indianapolis, because one of my good friends is involved with Visit Indy, which brings conventions and whatnot. I remember once reading a number that said that $750 million of economic development is brought into the city on an annual basis via Visit Indy.
Really?
750 million. Now, $1 billion annually for one thing is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather have a mini sphere or join the Peace Council for $1 billion?
Man,
it's tough.
I'd probably get more use out of the mini sphere.
What else is in the news?
You want to do a little college football news?
I mean, sure. I mean, is this going to be Fernando Mendoza on LinkedIn?
No.
Okay.
Indiana has been crowned the college football champion. Yay. But the real winner is the Big Ten Conference. Each of the 12 colleges that made the playoffs received $4 million for their trouble, an additional $4 million for making the quarterfinals, and every school that made the semifinals got $6 million. Both schools playing in the national championship got another $6 million. All told, Indiana raked in $20 million for winning the football season finale.
You got it.
Yeah. Money that, according to conference rules, will be distributed evenly among every team in the Big Ten.
I'm going to need some help here. What?
Yeah. Indiana made it all the way to the championship. One, go Hoosiers. Yeah, I mean, that's just what I feel like I have to say as an Indiana resident. And all the money they got has to be split up amongst all the teams in the Big Ten, which by my count is about 29 teams now.
So also, okay, so Oregon made it a couple games.
Yep.
Ohio State made it a game. Yep. Was there other
Big Ten teams? I don't remember.
Who knows? So, but that all gets pooled.
Yep.
And then it's split amongst the 180 teams in the Big Ten.
Yes.
Did you guys enjoy the whole IU thing? I found it very enjoyable for someone who doesn't care. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. I enjoyed the story. I mean, college athletics is a giant dumpster fire, but it was fun to watch because of the homegrown interest.
But man, I don't care. But it was I cared for a few weeks. Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah. It was interesting. I get stuck in the economics of things like the quarterback of Miami saying he hasn't been enrolled or something for like 2 years. That kind of bothers me as an opinion.
I'm sure there's got to be something behind it. Like he's just being coy, or I don't know what it is. But this is like his 6th year.
Yeah,
he played with Georgia. And now Miami, and who knows? I mean, he's probably going to, and then in professional basketball, you get to go to the G League, and now you're going to come back in through the transfer portal. I don't get it. What's going on?
You and I are totally not qualified to talk about this topic, so let me go deeper. So a lot more people are making a lot of money now.
Yes,
right? That's clear.
Yes.
So is that to say that all of this money was previously just being pocketed by the schools? Or was not enough money in the system then?
It's a great question. I mean, now that schools can pay athletes directly up to a certain amount, yeah, I mean, it's maybe this money's coming back to athletes, but I doubt it. I would imagine boosters are stroking some nice checks back to the schools.
Again, to further our old man curmudgeon, we're the Muppet guys up in the balcony.
I love that.
That is us. You got to think graduation rates are down.
Oh, yeah.
If you had given me $7 million in college, other than day trading it, I'm not sure I would have graduated.
Why?
Because that's it for this week's show. I'm sending you good vibes because good vibes are all that's in the budget. This is the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Lil Spence comes in the last 10 seconds of the show today. What's up, Lil Spence?
Appreciate it. Thanks for the effort.
$7 million because you get so distracted. Like,
yeah, I didn't mean why. I didn't mean why wouldn't you have graduated?
Yeah,
I said, why would you have graduated if you could have done basic math and figured out what you could live off of? I don't get it. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
All right.
Are we extra old, or do you think our parents went through this too, where things just seem to get out of control really fast?
That's a good question. I'm going to ask my dad this weekend.
Please do.
Well, I mean, I heard something also interesting this week that like all the AI fear is not too dissimilar from the Y2K fears. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'll ask my dad this week. That's a good question.
Basically Luddites back then. They didn't know anything.
All right. Dame, have a good weekend. Are you getting the snow that we're getting? Like, I haven't looked up north. What are you getting?
Not as much. You said you were projected 10 to 12. Is that what you said?
Yeah, something like that.
I think we're like 4 to 6 or 5 to 7. I don't know. Something.
I always assume in the winter you have 6 inches of snow on your land, on your ground.
I wish. It'd be beautiful.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being part of this whole menagerie. Stay getting money.